And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you without Ross Galloway. He's out on an assignment. Actually, he had a lovely affair to go to over the weekend, and he's driving back home. I told him to take the night off, take it easy. He's been through enough array, but thankfully, I have very cool friends that were able to join me tonight. It's an invasion from KLRN Radio. Rick Robinson, Orty Packard. I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves. How you gentlemen doing tonight? Orty, I care more about you than Rick, by the way.
Ouch.
Well,
already.
Knees flaring up a bit, a little gassy, back always, but
Well,
I'm good.
When we get to, what am I doing here? I don't like that view. What's going on here? Yeah, we all get gassy eventually as we get older, right? So these things happen. Rick, how you doing, my friend?
If I was any better, it'd be illegal, and it is in most states anyway. So how you doing, man?
I'm hanging in there. I'm lucky because I have a long weekend now. The law firm that I work for is run by a very kind, very smart gentleman who happens to be an observant Jew, and with Rosh Hashanah upon us. And for those of you watching a replay, I hope you have a sweet and lovely New Year. I get the days off, but I'm going to be working from home a little bit, so I don't have to travel all the time. So things are good here. Orty, I'm going to drop a banner over your head here since you're not on camera. I want to make sure that everybody is here. And if you're tuning in as we speak, I want to thank everybody for tuning in wherever you are, whether it be on the Twitters, on the Rumble, on the YouTubes, wherever you are. Like, share, subscribe, smash the thumbs up button wherever you are. We got a great show for you tonight. Actually, this is sort of a continuation of the discussions and the fun we were having last night on KLRN Radio. If you haven't checked that out, I'm going to make sure that it is linked in the description right after the show. There is a presence on YouTube, but go to the Twitters where it's so much more fun. Rick Robinson literally had hundreds and hundreds of people showing up for our debate analysis live stream. It was a fun time, Rick. I really had a good time.
There were dozens of us.
Dozens and dozens and dozens. No, listen. Let's not sell Rick short. There was a couple of hundred people. Well, I mean, you may be short, but I'm not going to sell you short. Brag on yourself a little bit here, man. KLRN was on fire last night.
It was pretty good. We actually, I think, when everything shut down, we were pretty close to a little over 500 last night. So that's not too shabby for our little outfit. So I will take it, especially since there were tons of streams talking about the same stuff, and we still managed to garner a lot of attention. So
absolutely. By the way, Jeff in the house, making sure to say hi to everybody. I guess he's not doing his job, but we're glad to have him here. But listen, I had a ton of fun, as I always do on all these debate streams. They're always a blast because I get to act like I know stuff, even though I don't really know stuff.
Oh, whatever. You're selling yourself short again, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. That's going to be the theme of the night. We're all selling ourselves short. Like I said,
I just make fart noises.
You can make all the fart noises you want as long as you're muted, my friend. We do have a great show. We're going to sort of continue where we left off at the end of the KLRN live stream, which again, such a great time. Whenever they go live, forget about whenever they go live. Check them out all the time at KLRN Radio on X or the Twitters or whatever you want to call it. We're going to be talking about, sort of continuing, like I said, what we were talking about last night, the post-mortem of the vice presidential debate. And the first question I have right now for everybody, and we're going to start off with Orty. Is anyone going to remember this vice presidential debate from last night in like a week from now?
I think so, yes. Just in the fact that it really was probably, and G talked about this on his show last hour on KLRN. It really was like the best showing Republicans have had in this century. And I mean, yeah, it came in such a meaningless vice presidential debate, but I think that it kind of showed that, you can take charge of the moderators. Yeah, I made a tweet right after. I said, if you're mad about the moderators, just remember we used to have the League of Women Voters run these, and they would just get local freaking columnists. They wouldn't have big name, is wherever the debate was being held, they just grabbed couple of newspaper columnists and let them be the moderators. They weren't out there trying to be famous. They weren't out there trying to get zings and gotchas. They were just doing their job and did it well. And both parties decided, yeah, we don't want that back in 1988. We really want the Democrats to make us look like shit for the next 40 years.
Yeah, but you raise a good point. I believe it was a friend of the show, Ryan Godusky, who commented on X that this was the first presidential debate where the Republican candidate scored like an over 50% approval based upon debate performance. Rick, that might be significant for people to remember, right? Do you think that J.D. Vance left a good impression?
I think he left a much better impression than anybody on the left wanted him to, because one of the biggest things that I kept seeing tonight or last night and all day today was all of the women talking about how hot he was. So the media has done their best to try to portray him as a troll. And last night, in a lot of ways, he came off to the average female viewer as Prince Charming. So I think a lot of the damage was undone last night because he did manage to keep his cool and he was able to make his points very articulately.
Well, and that's pretty interesting because all the females I've seen on the Twitters, and maybe I'm in the wrong bubble, were really, really angry at J.D. Vance and his treatment of the moderators, which we'll get into in a little bit here.
The mansplaining.
So, yeah, the mansplaining. Am I in the wrong bubble, Rick, or am I just free from any bubble? I don't know at this point.
You're in the wrong bubble.
Yeah, you're in the wrong bubble.
I am a bubble.
because conservo Twitter was ovulating over him.
Oh, yes. Everyone was grabbing for cigarettes while they were resting from all of the cleanup they had to do after the debate. My God. Yes, I believe that the right-wing sphere definitely like J.D. Vance a lot more. They feel like it's a promise fulfilled. On the other side, the left seems to have a little bit of buyer's remorse when it comes to Tim Walz. Would you agree with that? And I'll start with Rick.
I think they have a lot of buyer's remorse. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that all day today, Josh Shapiro has just been sitting somewhere just laughing his ass off because he knows if they had picked him like they should have, none of this would be happening. And I'm pretty sure all the Democrats right now are just like, is there any way we can throw this man off the bus?
Look who's checking in, Saint. Mr. Galloway, I thought you were going to be resting, my friend. What the hell? But listen, TMI, all right? I don't need to know what happens in the privacy of your own living quarters, all right, pal? So keep that information to yourself. But I'm glad you're home safe, by the way. Ordy, do you agree that Josh Shapiro is sort of the flavor of the month right now because of Tim Walz's performance at this debate?
I think with almost every reply Walz made last night, Shapiro punched the air.
But you would think that you would want Walz to succeed, though, right?
Well, there has to be some. I mean, there has to be quite a bit of Schadenfreude because, I mean, it's like I mentioned last night on the panel show. The only reason Shapiro isn't the VP pick right now is because Camilla had to cater to Michigan and Dearbornistan and the squad. And so the reason why he's not the VP pick right now is basically because he's Jewish.
Do you agree with that, Rick?
I 1000% agree with that. She is so terrified that she's going to alienate the Hamasniks in Michigan that she stayed away from him, and she made one of the biggest mistakes of her career, in my opinion, by doing so.
Well, it seems like Kamala Harris tries to walk a tightrope a lot. It seems like all the Democrats seem to walk this tightrope. I don't think it's going to work out for them because every time you walk a tightrope, at least my fat ass will fall over. I don't think that Kamala Harris has the skill necessarily to walk that tightrope at this point. I don't think that she can balance priorities, especially given the news this week of the missile attack from Iran into Israel. I don't know how tenable the position is. By the way, everybody notice how all of a sudden nobody's talking about Palestinians anymore after this attack? We're only talking about Hezbollah? Kind of interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, would you be talking about Palestinians at this point? I mean,
if they all support each other, you would think that there would be some message from Hezbollah or Iran of making some statement in favor of the Palestinians to sort of give them cover for the attack on Israel. But I don't think they see that at all. I think this is retaliation for Hezbollah. I bet the Palestinians are wondering, Audie, why didn't they do this for us?
Well, what I find interesting, and this is, one of those things that you don't see percolate too high on Twitter, is that at the last report that I saw, all of those rockets that were launched last night, the only injury was a Palestinian.
Yes, that's what I heard as well. Just want to give a shout out, by the way, to one of my coworkers. I'm not going to say his name on air, but he has his son. His son is currently with the IDF. I don't know exactly where he is or what he's doing. I just know that he is an intelligence officer with the IDF. I know that he's been safe the past couple of days, and our continued prayers and well wishes for him, especially on Rosh Hashanah. So, yeah, that's sort of the backdrop of the debate and this choice with Shapiro and Tim Walz. Let's actually get into some clips and stuff that we watched during the debate. We're going to start out with, well, no, we're actually not going to go to Tim Walz's bad night yet. Let's go to probably what I think is the biggest moment of the night, and that was the fact check that was done by the CBS moderators here. Let's see what happened here. Let's remember back what happened here.
Governor, and just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
So that would be normally where the Democrat side clip will end, right? That you're not supposed to be fact checking me, and they think that this is some big own. But if people just watch beyond that, they'll see that J.D. Vance here does a good job explaining the very generalized fact check that CBS did here. Anybody who wants to jump in, feel free. I'm not going to direct traffic anymore.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I insist. It was actually nice to see.
I'll direct traffic. Or do you go first? I'm tired of hearing Rick's voice.
Okay. Yeah. I get to do an hour with him after this too. Zing. Yeah, no, it was nice. That's the one thing that I really wish Trump would do more often. One, speak to the American people, don't get baited. And two, when there's rules of there's rules of the debater as such, for him to just go, no, wait a second, you fact me, I get to reply, I get 1 minute. And I know you have a lot to get to, but I get to reply to this.
Yeah, okay, Rick, you may now speak.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying anything.
How does it feel? Huh? How does it
feel oppressed.
How does it feel to be oppressed now? Huh? How do it feel? No, but seriously, the Democrats are selectively and in my opinion, deceptively editing the clip that we just watched, and we're going to play the rest of it in a second. What do you think about? Is this the dub that Democrats think it is?
No. It will be in the media spin because, like you said, they're going to stop right here. They typically, they do the same thing with Trump over and over and over again. The biggest lie about Charlottesville was because they cut it off before the very next sentence that said, and I don't mean the white supremacists, but so this is going to be their gotcha moment. They're going to try to spin it that way. They've been trying to do it all day, and it's not working because everybody's coming back and showing them the rest of the clip that you're about to play. But the thing that I love about Vance is even though he was able to make his points, he didn't beat them over the head with the points. He's very polished, especially for what I would consider a junior senator. He hasn't been in the game very long to come across as polished as he is, and it showed over and over again last night. He wiped the floor with a guy that's been in the game for 16 years. It was literally clean up on aisle 9 by the time they were done with it.
Right, and we'll get into this a little bit later. I think this is the difference between a legislator and an executive, right? A legislator is paid to know the nooks and crannies of how legislation works. And as you'll see in a second, J.D. Vance explains how this particular mechanism within the immigration system allowed for illegal immigration by these Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, to remain legally. It's through something called TPS. Let's take a look.
There's an application called the CBP One app where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Now let's talk about that a second, because what J.D. Vance was referring to was the app developed by the Biden administration that allows migrants, illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call them, to apply for being able to remain in America while their claim, whether it be asylum or anything else, is pending. If Tim Walz is saying that this has been around since the 1990s, does that mean he had a smartphone like 30 years before the rest of us did?
No, it means he's an idiot who can't keep up with half the things he's lying about, as got proven at least 3 times during the debate last night.
Okay, Orty, liar or just nervous and misinformed and didn't really control what he was saying?
Walz? Yeah. No, he's a habitual liar. It's what he did. Everything he says. I mean, they even fact-checked him last night on the Tiananmen Square thing he's been running on for years. And, you know, he pulled the, well, I'm just a knucklehead and I screwed up the dates. No, the point is you said you were there. You said you were at the student protests. You were not.
Well,
just
you know
like
what?
with everything else you did.
We're going a little bit out of order, but you know what? Let's get to that point, because I think that is a pretty salient point here. We're going to take down this video and we're going to add to our discussion here. Let me make sure it's the right banner, because I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. There it is. It's almost as if Orty is running the show. And
he does.
If you ever listen to the Culture Shift, Brad and I are quite prescient about what's going to happen in Hollywood 6 and 8 months down the road. I knew where you were going with the show tonight before, without even talking to you.
Yeah. Well, usually it's Ross who derails everything, but it's pretty cool. Listen, he's in the chat, basically echoing everything that we're saying. I want to put this one back up before we get to the clip. Ross says that Walz is a miracle, only person in politics dumber than Kamala Harris. Have you guys seen that meme going around with Obama saying, I got to pick someone dumber than me to be VP, and then Biden saying the same thing, and then Harris saying the same thing, and next you know there's a picture of Walz there?
I haven't seen it, but that's insane. Before you get to the next clip, I do want to back up for a second, because you asked a question that I actually know the answer to.
Oh my goodness.
You wanted to know why it was that Iran wasn't willing to do these things for the Palestinians. From a good Jewish friend of mine who is in the region, he's been on a show with Stacey and I several times. His explanation is as follows. Everybody that's in Palestine are the people who were exiled from the other Arab nations. Nobody wants them back because they're the ancestors of the people that failed to take out Israel the first time. So nobody's willing to lift a finger to help them because they hate them.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Even Egypt, who shares a border with Gaza, is not letting them into their territory as well, mainly because I believe if I remember history right, they tried to take over land in Egypt the last time they were let in.
Yeah.
So yeah, good catch there, Rick. Look, not just a hat rack, my friend. Looking good. So
to that point, whenever anybody's talking about the plight of the Palestinians in Israel, in the region, I'll point out, well, if you think Israel's bad to the Palestinians, you should see what Jordan does to them.
Yeah, learn your history, kids. Look it up, Google it. You'll see exactly what Orty's talking about here. So Tiananmen Tim, he was fact-checked actually himself by CBS, and it wasn't so much what he was saying was fact-checked. It's that Tim Walz, and I didn't know this, apparently he's a very accomplished tap dancer. Watch this performance. It'll make you think of Sandman Sims and Gregory Hines and everybody back in the day doing a little shuffle here. Take a look at this.
We were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and
I was born a middle-class child. My mother worked very hard for me and my sister, and we only bought a house when I became a teenager.
I grew up in a small town, and I still remember where you rode your bike until the streetlights came on, even though we didn't really have streetlights. And I know exactly where I was during the Tiananmen Square uprising.
Okay,
I know where I was.
I was, I was 11 years old. So, back, and quote Steve Martin, I was born a poor black child. And, Tim Walz, I guess, is hanging around Kamala Harris a little too much.
That's actually kind of what that line reminds me of, because he says it several times. But yeah, I would like to point out that I know where I was because I was watching the uprising on my dad's TV in his house when it was happening. We were glued to the TV. So the fact that he apparently can't remember where he is, yet he wanted to get married on the anniversary of the event.
To commemorate where he wasn't.
But who does that? He wanted it.
I mean, I was getting ready to graduate high school at that point. I was, worried about getting cap and gown and everything. I mean, I remember watching it on TV. So, yeah.
Ross Galloway checking in. Cut Tim some slack. Who among us haven't mistakenly remembered to be at an historic event?
You know what? With as much as he's contributing, you might as well just add him to the show at this point.
Right.
Listen,
I'm taking the night off, but I'm going to blow up chat.
I sent him the link. Ross, if you want to come on, bro, come on. It's all up to you. I'm sure that you're just hanging out on the couch chilling, and that's where you want to be, and that's all cool as well. And apparently he countered Jeff's comment. Dang it, I was typing that when you just stole my story I was working on for 2 years.
Hey, you're an alien. Time travel back and go fix it.
Yeah, seriously. And speaking of fixing it, let's see if Tim Walz, for those of you who haven't seen the debate, let's see if Tim Walz actually gets his stuff together here.
Proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's...
Just at times? Just at times. You're just a knucklehead at times.
Yeah. Just when he's talking.
Yeah, or,
or dancing onto the stage.
Or
jazz hands.
Military. Yeah.
All right.
Something like that. Just always, yeah. He's just a knucklehead sometimes. I said this during the morning show today, that you can be self-deprecating at a debate. You can certainly say, listen, I'm an imperfect human being. I make mistakes just like everybody else. But when you call yourself a knucklehead, you cede too much ground. You give too much ground to your opponents to basically do whatever they want to in response to it. And I have to say, J.D. Vance was very quiet here, and this is a great debate tactic, in my opinion, for him, because, Rick, he allowed Tim Walz to sort of dig his own grave here.
Oh, he was masterful at it, too, because he just let him keep digging and keep digging and keep digging. And, that's one of my favorite things to say to people on Twitter when they're being idiots. At some point, you usually learn to put down the shovel. Tim Walz apparently has never learned that lesson. So there's that.
Yeah, I guess not.
I think the best thing Vance could have done at that point would have just been to say, I would like to cede my time. Let him keep talking.
Oh, absolutely. It would have been great.
I would like to give him my 2-minute response time so he can actually answer the question.
Right. Or just keep digging.
As we see here, the moderator will push back on Tim Walz's mumbling, bumbling, stumbling tap dance of an answer that doesn't really answer anything.
Always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And
What the hell is this?
3 hours later.
You know what? I have a theory about Tim Walz here. I think Tim Walz was given marching orders on different canned lines that he was required to say during the debate. And he had this checklist in his head that he was just going through. He had to get to Donald Trump and attacking him in so many different ways, talking about COVID, talking about J6, talking about healthcare, talking about all the things that they want to have, that they think they have attack vectors on. And he sort of shoehorned this line in, Orty. And it just, this was a microcosm to me, Orty, of the whole debate for Tim Walz. It felt very unnatural, very forced, very uncomfortable.
No, you're absolutely right in that. I mean, he was given his bullet points, and this is it was kind of a contrast to the Trump Kamala debate, where she was prepped by Obama's team. Walz was prepped by Buttigieg. So you can kind of see who they really want to preserve in the party and who that is just going to be, the sacrificial lamb if it all goes south. They're going to blame it all on Walz. They're going to blame it when Kamala loses. They're going to blame it on Walz's performance. They're not going to blame it on her because they're going to try and salvage what's left of her career. Probably install her as senator again.
It could be. Ross, I did not send you home without pay. And by the way, for the record, the no pants with a bottle of Jack is just known as Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. I don't think Monday necessarily, but any other day of the week. Stop.
Well, Wednesday on KLRN is Team No Pants night, so.
Oh, is it? I did not know that.
Hashtag Team No Pants.
Yes,
yeah.
It's hashtag Team No Pants, hashtag Chat Lives Matter night.
And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to the KLRN crew on X right now. We broke triple digits here on the live stream for the first time ever, and it's all because of the people on X. YouTube and Rumble, you guys got some work to do, man. These people are kicking your butt. So I want to get to the moment here where actually the moderator finally gets back to Tim Walz. Notice the moderator didn't interrupt, they just allowed Tim Walz to go over his time and then tried to gently nudge him back into place here.
I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protest went in. And
the faces, though, Rick, you were saying.
I don't English good is pretty much his answer. Same thing.
Yeah, well, there's another, and
fucking calendars. How do they work?
You know, they go what, left to right, and up and down. You gotta flip them. I think that's how they work. I mean, I'm just a lawyer. I don't figure out.
June.
I have a paralegal.
Whatever.
It's not his fault. He temporarily forgot that we use the Gregorian calendar.
Well, just to be sure. So the one thing I remember leaving from last night was, well, you know what? Maybe Tim Walz just misspoke here, right? Maybe he was just, caught up in the moment, didn't really have control of his thought process because he's nervous and all that. And then I realized today, while doing show prep for tonight, that this has been Tim Walz's story for years, apparently. And it wasn't just a single time of misremembering something. This is what his people put out there. Apparently, even the New York Times was upset with Tim Walz about this. Let me put this up on the screen right now. This is an article from the Times today. Tim Walz's long relationship with China defies easy stereotypes. And they go through, this is a story that was written, I believe, before today. Yep, this was done in August. And it goes through in the summer of '89, Tim Walz faced a difficult challenge to go to China or to go to a job. He chose to go to China. But the thing I want to get to here is this correction at the bottom of the article. I'm sure it's very interesting to read, but I don't have time for it right now. A correction was made on October 1st, 2024. An earlier version of this article, relying on information provided by Tim Walz's campaign, misstated when Mr. Walz arrived in Hong Kong before his teaching stint in China. Mr. Walz arrived there in August 1989, not before the June 4th, 1989 crackdown on pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square. That is a fresh correction right there, Ordy. This left the New York Times with egg on their face because they basically said Tim Walz's people told us this. They didn't really do any fact checking of anything the campaign told them, just was spoon fed, and they ate it all up.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the case with everything that's a politician that they favor. They just, I mean, they do absolutely zero background on them. And then when the Oppo research comes out, first they deny it. Then they say, well, is it really a bad thing? And they say, yeah, but so what? And then they say, well, it's a good thing now that, Tim Walz lied about Tiananmen Square. He brought attention to I mean, it's just the cycle of the press. We see it 1,000 times a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, there are more New York Times articles than just this. This is, let me see if I can get this one up on the screen. I'm pressing all the buttons and hopefully something works. Share the screen, Baradelli. What the hell are you doing here? So this is the more recent New York Times article. The same author, by the way, Amy Keene. Tim Walz says he was in Hong Kong in 1989 during Tiananmen. Not true. Mr. Walz taught at the high school in China as part of a program sending American teachers abroad. Giggity. But he did not actually travel to the country until August 1989. This is the part that's very interesting to me. This made me realize that this wasn't just a mistake by Tim Walz. This was almost intentional misleading. Repeatedly over the years, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota had said that the year he spent teaching in China began with a trip to Hong Kong during the pro-democracy protests in the spring of 1989 that culminated in the deadly crackdown that June in Tiananmen Square. As recently as February of this year, Mr. Walz said on a podcast that he had been in Hong Kong, then a British colony, quote, on June 4th when Tiananmen happened, and decided to cross into mainland China to take up his teaching duties, even though many people were urging him not to. Trying to make himself look more like a hero than he actually was. Kind of like
familiar, though.
Kind of like his military service embellishment, don't you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's very much like that.
That's exactly what this is. And this is a point that I've been making all along. And your usual co-host did a really good job of it. And he retired with the rank that Walz wish he had. But here's the thing. This is no different than that. If his 24 years, wasn't it, 24, 25 years of service, if that was good enough, and it should have been, because that's impressive in this day and age, he should have had no reason to ever embellish it. This was not a misspeaking, though. This was, again, something that he said incorrectly over and over and over again to paint himself as a bigger person than he actually was. And this is still, I mean, he came in August. This is only a couple of months after. So he still could have said, I chose to do this anyway, even with the uprisings that just happened. But there's a very important point that got glossed over in the debate last night, even after they pointed out that he wasn't there. He said himself that witnessing this event and being there for it is what gave him his love of democracy.
Yeah, sure.
So you lied about all of that. So, and obviously from your time as governor, I don't see any evidence that you love democracy unless your definition of democracy is get in your house and stay there until I tell you can get out.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely on point, but I think it's more insidious than even what you're saying. Look at the top paragraph on the screen right now. Mr. Walz told the same story a decade earlier at a congressional hearing when he testified that he was in Hong Kong in May 1989, adding, as the events were unfolding, several of us went in. I still remember the train station in Hong Kong. He's coming up with contrived memories when contemporaneous news reports in Nebraska indicated that Walz was still in his home state during the spring and did not leave for China until August. And now his campaign is not disputing those accounts. So this is a decade-old lie that he got caught on national TV. You mean to tell me that nobody in the Democrat Party vetted Tim Walz to the point where this story was out there, and the story about him being a command sergeant major was out there, and they didn't vet this? Come on.
When has the Democratic Party ever vetted one of their candidates?
I mean, they should be.
He's got a point, though. They don't very well.
Go through the list. I mean, name one that like they went, oh shit, yeah, no, we got to put a stop to that one.
I
Well,
mean,
but
Obama had ties to Bill Ayers. I mean, and the whole terrorist group that he was associated with, they didn't care.
But this is stuff that's easily verifiable by media. And these stories that have been out there about, being a command sergeant major and then leaving when his battalion was about to be deployed. Now this story about China. But yet everyone thinks that he's so real because he's folksy and he sounds like a normal person, sounds like an everyday person. Are voters that stupid on the Democratic side?
Well, okay, Gene, you hit the nail on the head there, is that it's so easily discovered by the media. The media doesn't want to discover it. It's only in current year, modern era, that citizen journalists are doing the job for them, that you have the crowdsourced, just absolute single-mindedness of the internet who will dig through and find these news stories from 89 and force the media to report on it.
And then there's the friendly media that will not do any digging whatsoever.
Right.
So, it's a situation of sort of like, there you go. I think maybe it was pretty willful that nobody bothered to search anything on Tim Walz. They just assumed that he was a good guy from Minnesota, that has nothing really wrong with him, other than the fact that he was the governor of the state when Minneapolis was burning, the huge.
And his wife opened the window so they could smell the tires burning.
Yeah.
Which was like the weirdest thing ever. By the way, not to interject, but in the KLRN radio chat, Q York City just said Walz is a good man. He was at Gettysburg.
So just so you guys know, if you are in the KLRN radio chat, Rick's going to be the one to see you. I got too many buttons and things to push. If you go on to my Twitter, which is at G Baradelli, I'll be able to see your comments come in the chat stream that I have going. But I'm sure Rick will be monitoring his own people, and he'll let me know all the good stuff that's going on. So that said, gang, we are at halftime here on the show, and I want to say thanks for watching Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene. That's Rick and Orty over there. No, not that TV show. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, on Rumble. Follow us on Twitter. All those good places so that way you never miss a show no matter where you're looking right now. And while I got you here, I want you to check out all the good merch items at shop.buffoonoftheweek.com. We just added a whole bunch of Behind Enemy Lines merch that I'm really proud of. And I'm going to see if I can find it right now to show you guys because it's really cool.
And
I keep going into the wrong window here. That it's access denied right now. So let me show you guys all this good stuff, all the sexy stuff we got going on there. Like the Behind Enemy Lines all over tea. We got mugs. We got camper mugs. We got water bottles. We got pullover hoodies. Whole bunch of really, really cool stuff. Even some dog tags if you want to rep the show for us. We appreciate you tuning into the show and hope that you check out shop.buffoonoftheweek.com. I really, really hope you go there. We're doing sort of a big merch push. We want to get the word out about the show every way we can, whether it's by liking, sharing, subscribing, smashing that thumbs up button, picking out some merch and wearing it out wherever you go, starting some conversation saying, hey, where'd you get that cool stuff? And then you can tell them shop.buffoonoftheweek.com, baby. I absolutely love the grift. I love doing it. It's sort of what I'm best at, Rick.
I mean, you're an attorney, so not surprising.
I have to sell myself. That's the whole point here, right? That's the point of what we do here. So please, again, like, share, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, all that really, really good stuff that helps the algorithm out wherever you're watching. And we're going to continue on here because beyond Tiananmen Tim's comments there, he just had a bad night overall, especially when he was talking about his friends that seemed to shock a lot of people. You guys know what I'm talking about here. The discussion about guns and gun control, and the CBS moderator is asking why he changed his position on gun control. And this might be...
And he gave the weirdest response ever. Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah, this might be, for those on the right, the biggest highlight, or the biggest low light, I should say, for Tim Walz.
In your political career, did you change your position? Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen.
I think I need to play that one more time. Don't you think, guys?
Yeah,
that happened.
I think so.
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters.
Now, listen, I have some pretty disreputable friends. I am an Italian from Brooklyn, New York. But I can say with pretty much certainty that I am not friends with any people in schools going pew, pew, pew. Is this something that happens in Minnesota? Do people get friendly? I mean, I know they're friendly there, but is this what happens in Minnesota? Do people get friendly with, people with pew pews that go to places where children are?
I don't know anybody from Minnesota. I would like to believe that he left a word out of that sentence. At least I'm hoping.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been racking my brain, Orty. What do you think he thought he was saying?
See, that's I don't understand the mind of Tim Walz on the best statement, much less that statement. See, last night when I first heard it, I was being charitable and thought, okay, maybe he meant you should become friends with, like the potential school shooters, the outcasts, the bullied and so on and so forth. Well, no, that's not what he was talking about. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe he meant like school shooting teams. And no, that's not what he was talking about. I've got no idea what the hell he was talking about, Gene. He just brain farted that one straight out. That was a brain dump, and I have no idea what he was trying to accomplish there.
Well, I mean, context clues, right? He mentioned that he was talking about Sandy Hook victims. Do you think he just didn't want to call them victims, Rick? And that's why he said what he said, and it just came out really, really bad?
Well, so I think what he meant, and this is trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and assuming that he's not just inherently evil, which is a huge assumption at this point. Just being honest. I think what he meant to say is, I've become friends with victims of school shooters, because just before he was talking about becoming friends with the parents from Sandy Hook, and then he blurted out, I've become friends with school shooters.
Okay. But now let me ask this to both of you, and I'll start with Orty. After what we just experienced with his statement about Tiananmen Square and his statements about going to war zones in the past and his role as a command sergeant major that was embellished, does Tim Walz still deserve the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a comment like this?
No. He does not.
See, and this is the meme of the election. This is, no matter, I mean, something has to go cataclysmically, hilariously wrong for the shit posters to get off of this one. I've already seen 100 different memes on this very topic, and they're not stopping. And as we all know, memes won 2016. So here we are.
Well, it certainly seems like the battle of the memes, right? Because I know that we see the memes about JD Vance and the moderators and the fact checking and all that. I think you're right. Memes are going to win everything, but I think that when you go for the king of memes and the king of social media trolling, you best not miss. And to me, the best meme came from Donald Trump. I mean, that's just perfect.
See,
Trump fans
I'm mad that
2024.
I have to clarify this one. I'm mad that he didn't give credit where credit was due. That meme was created by CCP as asshole on Twitter.
Okay, well,
She did that on her Truth Social account. But I'm just giving credit where credit's due. Still, yeah, best meme of the night.
So let me apologize to CCP. Is asshole? Is that what? Did I get it right?
Asshole. Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
want to apologize for not giving credit where credit is due, and certainly give you your due for. I think this is the meme that won the internet today. So bravo,
Completely.
congratulations to you, and I do apologize for not giving you the proper credit. I try to do my best to do that. By the way, I just want to highlight this from Ross real quick here. Hang on. Tim Walz makes Jesse Ventura and Al Franken look like Jefferson and Franklin.
That's not far from the truth either.
I wish I could say he was wrong, but he's not.
Pretty damn accurate. And then we have Jeff, who should be running things on KLRN, but instead he's chatting with us. What number option do you think Walz actually was on the list as VP pick? 389? Isn't 389 a little generous, Jeff? I mean,
seems high.
I'm thinking there should be an extra digit there, but yeah, you forgot, Gene. He's an alien. He can multitask. So.
Yes, I realize. You know what?
Walz getting the VP pick is just kind of like that person who happened to be home to answer the phone. The unemployed dude who just they went down the call list of all their seasonal workers.
You think you're making a meme right now, but they've actually released a statement that he missed the first call. I'm pretty sure.
Even better.
I'm pretty sure he let it go to voicemail and then was like, I guess I should call her back.
I actually was kind of wondering here.
Imagine call screening the VP.
Oh God! I mean, I would.
I
want to go back to this. I think Ross said it in the chat that Shapiro turned down Harris. Do you think, given what we're seeing now, that Walz wasn't the first choice, and maybe Josh Shapiro did turn her down?
I don't think Shapiro actually turned her down. I think that is a save face. He was never asked because of the Hamasniks.
So then who was first pick? Because I can't believe this guy was first pick.
Well, so he
was first pick because Kamala admitted that she made the decision after she was sleep deprived.
Yeah, so that's come out too. She'd barely been sleeping, blah, 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 and apparently that's when she made this choice. But I will say this. I do believe that if Ben Shapiro was asked, he probably would have run away screaming. But I still think they should have asked because there have been plenty of other people that were floated as a possible pick for her, and they were the ones getting out in front of it saying, no way in hell.
But why wouldn't you? You have all the vibes. You have all the good feelings. You have the momentum, according to them, which, by the way, is all but dissipated by this point.
They know it's a lie. The only reason they made the switch that they made was because if they didn't, their fundraising game was done. Nobody was donating to the Biden-Harris ticket anymore, which is why they took him off the top of the ticket. This was all a move to try to save down ballot. And then when they realized that they were getting backed into a corner because they wanted what they started calling the Blitz primary, and Biden gave them one of these on the way out the door and said, if you do this to me, I'm picking her. That's why it took Obama a week to endorse her. That's why it sounds like the most fake phone call ever, because they didn't want to have to do it. They've been backed into a corner. They're trying to make the best of a bad situation. And they thought if they got the entire media apparatus behind her, they could push her across the finish line. And they're figuring out it's probably not going to work. But they were most concerned about trying to not lose the Senate overall and possibly even be able to flip the House, even if they can't take the White House. That's why.
Well, you gotta look at it too. That Kamala was Pelosi's pick. Biden did it as a fuck you, but Pelosi has always been the string puller behind Kamala. That's one of the worst kept secrets in California politics.
Wait, no, she was the string puller to get Kamala where she was now, but she didn't want Kamala. She was the first one to say that she wanted the mini primary, that this wasn't the choice that she wanted. As a matter of fact,
true, yeah.
it's going so badly that now she's walked back the entire conversation and said, "Well, I never actually wanted him to quit. I just wanted him to run a better campaign." She said
that is not what she was saying at the DNC.
No,
that is not what she was saying during the DNC. And by the way, she controls the purse strings of the Democrat Party. She has so many donors in her Rolodex that owe her favors or that she owes favors to. That is, that's the reason why she's behind pretty much everything. So.
Well,
yeah,
that, I mean, if you go back to when, they were talking about should Biden step aside, they were expecting her to say, "Oh, no, he's fine." And she would not answer that question.
That's right.
She would go out of her way to not answer that question.
Well, you know what Nancy Pelosi's motto is when it comes to campaigning and what advice she gives. Doesn't matter what you say, just win, baby. That, the just win, baby is a direct quote to her. Mm-hmm. And it basically means win at all costs. And
she stole that from Al Davis, who is just slightly older than she is.
Right. So
remember when she got irritated with AOC and said, I could put a letter D on a glass of water and run it against you and win.
That is true. And, that district, she probably could. I knowing that district and knowing that it is a high-wheeling district, she probably could. So listen, meme lords out there. I know you said that the Trump van sign saying, not friends with pew pew people was a good one. But is there a better meme out there? And I know you said it was, pretty good. Is there a better meme out there than J.D. Vance himself? Before I get to that, Ross chiming in. The power players that rig elections and picked Kamala Sands primary are not elected Democrats.
1,000%.
Or they're Democrats in safe districts that don't face any challenging election. I certainly agree with that addendum. But, okay, so like I was saying about memeing, is there a better meme than J.D. Vance himself? And let me show you what I mean. This is a question that was asked to Tim Walz about deportations and how America favors the mass deportations that are being suggested by Trump and Vance.
News polling, which does show that a majority of Americans, more than 50%, support mass deportations.
Look, we fix this issue with a bill that is necessary, but the issue on this is what happens when you don't want to solve it. You demonize it. And we saw this. And Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield. The Republican governor said, it's not true. Don't do it. There's consequences for this. There's consequences. We could come together. Senator Langford did it. We could come together.
There it is right there.
Cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm song.
That has been making the rounds all day today.
I was thinking more Jim from The Office.
That too.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, with the Imhoff story that broke today, I've seen so many people that have been using that meme to riff on the Imhoff story that broke today. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
okay, I've been out.
This one's going to last a while, I think, guys. First of all, just look at that face. I mean, it's a great moment looking directly at the camera. Again, going back to Rick's point about how smooth and slick J.D. Vance was at this debate. And
point of view, when I tell my wife I was working late and come home with stripper glitter on my shirt.
Absolutely. And haven't we all been there?
Yes.
Might I ask? But to me, this is a product, and I think Dana Bash may have said this on CNN. This is a product of all the reps that J.D. Vance has been getting in the media. I think it's now 74 days since, it's been 74 days that Kamala Harris has not had a press conference where she took live questions from media. J.D. Vance has been making the rounds pretty much everywhere, all types of media, hostile and otherwise. And he's been getting in his practice, really, in these interviews. So that's why I think he was so slick and smooth and can speak extemporaneously on the debate stage. He's just saying everything that he didn't have to memorize from rote memorization, but that he's been saying for weeks and weeks before the media that's been working. I'm sure he's been workshopping a lot of different lines with that media, Rick.
I heard a number that I haven't been able to confirm yet, but in regards to the point where he basically, explained to everybody why he changed his mind on Trump, apparently he did like 70 some odd town halls where he was asked that question repeatedly. So it's been an answer that he's been able to refine. So in between all those town halls and all the press junkets, it's no wonder that he can just own anybody that comes at him now. He's been amazing to watch. And I have to admit, I was not impressed at first when they said he was going to be the vice president. And everybody that I thought knew more than me was like, "Oh no, he's not a good pick. He's not a good pick. He's not a good pick." When he won me over, and I think you guys have talked about this on this show too, was when he took the madman stroll across the tarmac and went and talked to the press. It was like, "You guys seem pretty lonely, so I thought I'd come say hi, and I wanted to check out what I hope is going to be my plane in a couple of months."
Yeah.
That was a power move that I haven't seen anybody make in a long time.
That was huge.
Stands one person. Donald Trump was making moves like that all through 16. He was doing it all the time.
Or go ahead.
No, I said absolutely that was a power move. I was agreeing with Rick on that one.
Yeah, and I think, to me, the best thing I saw from the debate was that moment talking about his opinion of Donald Trump. And it may have been the best moment for any candidate that I can remember that communicated to people, I can change, I can grow, I can evolve, I can learn lessons. He did that with talking about Trump. He did that with reproductive rights. And especially that question he talked about, they asked him, you used to call, abortion barbaric and whatever he was saying. What changed your mind to soften your stance? And he said, well, in my state, we lost an election. So the electorate informed me about what the consensus opinion is on this. And I gave that some thought and I internalized it. And I've come up with sort of a compromised position that I have. Now, the pro-life people are very upset with him about this.
Pitchforks and torches.
Yeah. And by the way, I say to them, where you going to go? Where else you going to go? You going to stay home and let Kamala Harris and Tim Walz win? Or are you going to compromise and do what you got to do to make sure that you can live to fight another day? At least on the federal question of abortion rights. And by the way, and I did a rant on this before, pro-life people, you got what you wanted. You got it in the power returned to the states where it should have always been. Why aren't you working in every single state to lobby for your interests instead of being lazy and going to the federal government?
Because there was a large chunk of the folks that glommed on to the make it a states' rights issue just so they could eventually start pushing for a national ban, because there are a lot of folks on the right that aren't any different than the folks on the left. They just want government control of different things.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's part of people on the not necessarily the fringes, but the far reaches of both parties that want to impose their worldview on everybody else. And that's not how a representative republic works. A representative republic works when you compromise. That's why there's a 60 vote threshold in the Senate, to force compromise between legislators, to horse trade back and forth, to try to get part of the pie that you essentially need and give up what you think you can live with. The best negotiation, and I found this as an attorney, yes, I'm an attorney, I'm going to plug that to the high heavens every time I can, is the best deal or the best settlement of a case is the one where everybody walks away unhappy. Because that's when you know you're in the sweet spot of where agreement can happen. So I think a lot of people in politics need to learn that technique.
Well, and I think Vance just demonstrated that technique very well, because that's basically his answer on why he changed his mind on abortion. He's like, in the state I'm in, we lost an election, so I took that to heart because those are the people that I'm supposed to be representing, and that's the point of all of this, supposed to be back to the state level. That way, the states can decide how they want to support an issue, and that gives you the opportunity that if your state is doing something you don't agree with that particular issue, you now take that back to the state and you fight the good fight until you either convince people or you don't. But you've got this national right to life movement that has become a union in and of itself that is now doing more harm than good to the movement, because they got everything that they wanted. And now they want Republicans to say, well, now we need a national ban. there is no way to do a national ban with the current ruling from the Supreme Court, because they said the same thing that has been common practice for decades in this country, and that's that the states handle most medical related issues. That's their whole stance for the argument and why it was sent back to the states.
Well, it was actually, it never should have left the states. It was a power reserved by the states for themselves when we created the federal system.
Mhm.
So absolutely correct on that. Spot on. Not just a hat rack, my friend. Very good.
Did I mention at one point I
That's
actually
fun.
thought about being an attorney until I realized I was afraid of public speaking, which is the irony of everything I do now.
I thought about being an attorney, and then I was afraid they'd find out that my parents were married.
You know, I once thought about being an attorney too. I don't know what happened with that. So listen, guys, you've been tremendous, and I appreciate you pinch hitting for Galloway. I think he's finally maybe passed out on the couch here or something. I miss you, buddy, but I'm glad that we're handling things this way. So we have a little tradition on the show here. Again, thank you guys so much for coming on. Of course, we're going to plug KLRN Radio to the hills. Rick, why don't you do that first? And then we're going to go to Final Thoughts. And by the way, Final Thoughts is freeform. Anything you want to say, anything you want to talk about, you are granted as much time as you want to get on your soapbox and say whatever you want. So, Rick, first, tell everybody about KLRN Radio, where they can find you, and what you guys are doing over there for the next couple of days.
All right, so you can find everything at klrnradio.com. You can follow along with the station at KLRN Radio. You can find me at RowdyRick73 on X as well, and our new news arm at Digital Beacon US. As far as for tomorrow, there'll be the afternoon show, which I run noon to 3 Eastern. Then tomorrow night, I believe it is a culture shift night, unless my schedule is off, I think. And that usually kicks off at about 8:30. And then after that, Jen and I will be on doing Jen and Rick 10 p.m. Eastern. And then Friday night, I'm on doing He Said, She Said with Aggie Rican after doing the afternoon show. And as far as final thoughts, thanks for having us on. It's been a blast. This is now 2 nights in a row that we've hung out. So I'm sure you're going to be tired of me now, and I probably won't hear from you for a few days. But thank you so much for the time and bringing us on. It's funny because all of a sudden I'm starting to do all these shows on other networks, and I'm like, people like me. They really like me. And they're like, no, we don't really. We just needed filler.
Listen, like you, I barely think about you. No, but in all seriousness, no, I appreciate you guys coming in to pinch hit for Ross. And the reason why you won't be hearing from me in a couple of days is because I'm going to be sleeping after a couple of long distance court appearances, and just a lot of stuff here with the show as well. Orty, tell everybody where they can find you, what you're doing, where you're going to be shit posting, and all that really, really good stuff.
Well, thanks for having me. Really, it's been a great time. It really has. Let's see. I'm back on Ordnance Packard. I just got my account unsuspended this morning. It was fantastic.
All
Yeah.
praise to Saint Elon.
They freed Orty.
No, this was a behind the scenes thing. Fuck Elon still until, but I have to call it X. So, let's see. This week you can find me in a few minutes on Rick and Orty. Then tomorrow you can find me on the Culture Shift with Brad Slager. On Saturday you can find me with Rick as we continue our Juxtober deep dive into vampirism. Next week you can find me on Manorama on Tuesday. I believe I'm going to be on that panel, and then once again back around the horn to be with Rick on Wednesday. And other places I may be appearing soon, but for now that's enough work for this boy. That's
enough work for a couple of boys right there. So I'm glad you fit me into your busy schedule, my friend. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
You left Circle K out. Why did you leave Circle K out?
Yeah, you can also find me behind a Circle K servicing lonely moms everywhere.
There you go. That's better.
All right. So my final thought, listen, it's halfway through the weekend. It's been a long week already. I do want to show you guys something that I picked up that's kind of fun and interesting for my final thought here. And you know what? Maybe I should put up the final thought banner for this one. Like I'm not an idiot here. So there we go. I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe let me go to this view for a second here. So these are United States Congress trading cards. I'm getting a little bit of a glare there, but I bought a box of these from let me see, what's the name of the website here? It's fascinating.cards. Small little outlet. I thought I'd try it out. I'm going to open a pack right now just to show you what these things look like. I think I'm going to do like one of those box openings for these cards to like, just as like a goof and a gag. Let me do this in front of you here. So we got, I think starting out here, we have Daryl Issa. Let me see if I can get the glare out of the way. Daryl Issa right there. See, I'm shit at this already. Followed by, I'm skipping cards. Followed by Dwight Evans from Pennsylvania. Look at these things. They're basically the congressional portraits that just in card form. This is, I can't even see this far. The script is not helping me here. Oh my God, my eyes. Bill Foster from Illinois. Jared Jefferson from California. Just a whole bunch. Ed Markey. So they have senators in here as well. Mitt Romney. I got a Mitt Romney. Look at that right there. Wow. Just a whole lot of fun we're going to have opening these up. Some of the cards are actually embedded with state quarters. Those are the really rare ones. And they're like foil cards in there. Trying to make this, I guess, interesting to people. I think I'm going to...
I'm trying to make fetch happen.
Listen, I bought a box of these. It wasn't that expensive, thank God. But we're going to open them up on a stream one day just to have some fun with this. Because that's what this is all about. The channel's called Buffoon of the Week. It's all about political buffoonery here, folks. And we're going to have some fun in these last 30 days. We didn't even get to the whole Doug Imhoff slapping a bitch story. Maybe we'll get to that later on. But for now, it's going to be time to shut this sucker down. I want to thank you guys again, as always, for coming on. I want to thank our audience, the huge audience that found us on the Twitters. You guys are freaking awesome. I'm glad that you stopped by. And as always, like, share, subscribe to the show, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff. It's time to shut this sucker down. And all I got left to say is play our motherfucking anthem, folks. Good night. We'll see you next week.
Not allowed, not without electoral.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Don't let them have sway. Conservative battalions walking them out, marching through the streets while the buffoons all shout. Move in the shadows, flag on my chest, repping my clan, putting faith to the test. Cause we're playing blue behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rocking and roll. Cool in the chaos, but loud in the war. But loud in the war. This is our chance. If I ever stand with a smirk in a gaze, holding down the fort in this Democrat cage.